Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are continuing this Parliament chapter. In this video, we are going to see the important topics of the Parliament. We are going to see leaders of Parliament, and the sessions of Parliament, and the devices of Parliament. In the sessions of Parliament, we are going to look into summoning, prorogation, and also adjournment, and finally dissolution. And in the devices, first we will look into question hour, and later on zero hour, and at last motions. There are different types of motions. We are going to see those motions. So in this part, which is important? Here, this sessions of Parliament is very important for both the prelims and as well as mains. And in this device of Parliament, this question hour and the zero hour, these are important for the prelims, and this motions is very important regarding the prelims. Okay, so let's get started our session. So let us see the first leaders in Parliament. In this leaders, we are going to see the three types of leaders. First one is leader of house, second one is opposition leader, and the third one is whip. Okay, so first let us see the leader of house. So this leader of house which is present under the rules of Lok Sabha, and the leader of the house, which means the prime minister normally. If at all this prime minister it is from the Lok Sabha, he will be the leader from the Lok Sabha. If at all this prime minister from the Rajya Sabha, then he will be the leader from that house, that is Rajya Sabha. So if you see here, this leader of house which is present under the rules of the Lok Sabha, the leader of the house means the prime minister in generally who is the member of Lok Sabha, or if at all a minister who is the member of Lok Sabha and he is nominated by the prime minister mainly to function as the leader of the house. So if at all prime minister do not want to be the leader, he can also nominate any member as to function as a leader. For example, what if this prime minister belongs to the Rajya Sabha? Then who will be the leader of house in the Lok Sabha? So whenever prime minister it is who is from the upper house, then in the lower house he will nominate any person to act as the leader of the house. So in the same person, if prime minister is from the Lok Sabha, again he will nominate one person from the Rajya Sabha to act as the leader. Okay, so this is about the leader of the house. And this leader of house in either house is an important functionary and exercise the direct influence on the conduct of the business. Because this, if you see this prime minister who is the head of the council of minister, correct? So whether he is from the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, this prime minister will have the important functions. And let us see the next one, that is leader of opposition. So in each house of the Parliament, that means in the Rajya Sabha and also in the Lok Sabha, there is a leader of opposition. So the leader of the largest opposition party, which is not having less than 1/10 of the seats of the total strength of the house, then the recognized party, the leader of that party is called as the leader of opposition. So if you see in the parliamentary system of government, the leader of opposition has an important significant role. What are the important functions that are played by this leader of opposition? There are some main functions like to provide the constructive criticism of policies of the government and to provide an alternate government. That means whenever there is a loss of confidence, that is whenever no confidence motion which is passed in the Lok Sabha, then this PM along with his council of ministers should dissolve, right? So in that situation, whenever this no confidence motion which is passed in the house, then that government should resign. So in that time, there is always the alternative government which is present in the house. So this is the important role or important function. And another one is, whenever the government which is coming up with any other policy or any other law or any other bill or any other amendments, these ought to be criticized by this opposition. Okay, these are the two main functions of this leader of opposition. And if you see, they are also entitled the salary, allowances and also other facilities which are equivalent to the cabinet minister, because there are some important functions that to be performed by this leader of opposition. And if you see, the same functionary in the USA also present. It is known as a minority leader, and this British political system has a unique institution. It is called as shadow cabinet. This is very, very important. So this institution of this shadow cabinet which is present in the USA. So this shadow cabinet, it is mainly formed by the opposition party in order to balance the ruling cabinet to prepare the members for the future ministerial office. That means for the alternate government formation. This shadow government or this shadow cabinet, it is also serves as an alternate cabinet if there is any changes in the government. So this is about shadow cabinet. And let us see the next one, that is whip. This whip, it is in the news commonly because of the recent Rajasthan political crisis, correct? So this whip, it is very important regarding the Schedule 10 of Indian Constitution, which talks about anti-defection law. Whenever any member of any political party who is not following the whip, they can be attracted under the Schedule 10. They may be disqualified under the Schedule 10 of the Indian Constitution, correct? So in this context, you should know what is a whip. Here this office of whip, it is on the other hand, it is neither mentioned in the Constitution of India and it is not mentioned in the rules of the houses and also in the parliamentary statute. So this is not present in the Constitution as well as the rules of houses and also the parliamentary statute. This is the first important prelims fact regarding the whip. But it is based on the convention of the parliamentary government. It is based on the conventions of the parliamentary government. So this point you should remember. Whip, it is not present in the Constitution of India. It is not present in the rules of the house and also not present in the parliamentary statute. But it is based on the conventions of the parliamentary government. And if you see in every political party, either it may be the ruling party, either it may be the opposition party, they have its own whip. So this whip, it is an office, it is appointed by the political party mainly to serve as an assistant floor reader. Okay, so these are the some important points. So let us see further. He is charged with the responsibility of ensuring the attendance of his party members in the large members and also securing their support in the favor or against any particular issue. For example, if there is any bill which is passed in the house, let us see. In the house when this bill is passed, in the same house we have at least 4 to 5 political parties. Let us take this hypothetical issue here. So if you see, there is a party 1, party 2, party 3 and party 4. Each and every party have their own whip. For example, if this political party want to pass that bill, so it is the responsibility of that whip that is to ensure the enough attendance of that party members are present on that day and they are voting as per the directions of this whip. Okay, so this is the important responsibility of the whip. So he also regulates and also monitor the behavior of their party members in the parliament, and the members are supported to follow the directives which are given by the whip, or otherwise the disciplinary action can be taken on those members who are against the whip. So this is the importance of the whip. So let us see the second part of this lecture, that is sessions of parliament. The first important one is summoning. So when you are talking about the parliament sessions, in simple layman terms, let us understand what is summoning and what is a prorogue. So whenever in the New Delhi, parliament is functioning. Parliament is functioning in New Delhi, then this is called as summoning. And if at all Parliament is in vacation or holiday to the parliament, this is called as recess. Okay, parliament is functioning and the parliament is in recess. So whenever your parliament is functioning, but that means it is in the session, parliament is in session. Okay, this parliament session which starts with the summoning, and after some days this will continue, this session of this parliament will continue, and after some days there will be the vacation to the parliament or the holiday to the parliament, and this is called as the recess. This recession will be happen by the prorogue. Okay, by the prorogation of the parliament, then the parliament will go into recess. So with the summoning, the parliament will start the session, and with the prorogation it will go into the recess. So if you see, the president is an important part in the parliament. I am saying here it is an important part of the parliament, but this president will not be the member of parliament. Why I am saying this president is the important part of the parliament? Whenever you are reading the sessions of parliament, summoning or the proroguing of the parliament will be done by the president of India. Without any president, there will be no summoning, there will be no proroguing of the sessions of the parliament. So president will be the important part of the parliament. So let us see summoning here. President from time to time summons each house of the parliament to meet. So president will ask the members of the parliament, dear members of parliament, please come to the New Delhi and let us start the session, new session of the parliament. So in this way, president from time to time, he will summons each house of the parliament to meet. But the maximum gap between the two sessions of the parliament, that cannot be more than 6 months. So normally we have the 3 sessions, that is BMW, that is budget session, monsoon session and winter session. They will start usually from February, July and November, correct? So these are the timings that will usually happens, because there is no particular time that is present. But one fixed thing that is present here is, between the 2 sessions there should be gap not more than the 6 months. Okay, so the maximum gap between the 2 sessions of the parliament, that cannot be more than 6 months. Okay, so in other words, parliament should meet at least twice in a year. So usually there are 3 sessions in the year, that is budget session, monsoon session and winter session. Budget session starts from the February to May, and monsoon session starts from July to September, and winter session from the November to December. So how to remember this? There is one mnemonic here, BMW, fast jate nahi. Okay, in this way you can remember. So what is a session? Here a session of the parliament, it is a period spanning between the first meeting of the house and its prorogation. Prorogation means stopping or recession. We can also say there is a dissolution. Okay, so whenever there is a first meeting that is held in the parliament, and till the last session, it is called as a session. So till there is a prorogation or the recessing of the house, this period is called as session of the parliament. During this session, house meets every day, mainly to transact the business of the house, and the period spanning between the prorogation of the house and again reassembly of the new session is called as the recess. So if you see, this is the first day of session, and here they went for the prorogation and they will again reassemble. So here this time, the first day of sitting till the prorogation, it is called as session of parliament, and from the prorogation to the till reassembly of this parliament, it is called as recess. Okay, it is also called as vacation or the holiday, etc. And let us see the next one, that is adjournment. So this adjournment is very, very important. So what is this adjournment in simple words? In a session of a parliament, it contains number of meetings. Each meeting of the day which consists of 2 sittings. First one is morning sitting and the second one is post lunch sitting. Morning sitting from the time 11 to 1 p.m. and post lunch sitting from the 2 to 5 p.m. 3 hours each. Okay. So per day 6 hours of the meet will be happen in a session of the parliament. So if you see, the sitting of the parliament, that can be terminated by the adjournment or either adjournment sign day. So first of all, what happened at 11 o'clock, meeting started or the session started, and 11 to 12 for 1 hour there is a question hour, and at 12 o'clock 000 that 0 hour will start, and at the end of the day at the 5 p.m. there will be the agenda of the day which is announced by the speaker. So till the 0 hour, so this is a normal session happens. So when you see here, after this business or the what is that, whenever the time is happened, or whenever the time of the session is completed, then the speaker will, for example, speaker in the case of Lok Sabha and in the case of Rajya Sabha it is chairman. Chairman or the speaker who is the presiding officers of that house, this session of that day will be ended, will be terminated by the adjournment. Okay, so that session of that day will be stopped or the terminated by this adjournment, or simply adjournment sign die, or we can say there is also prorogation or dissolution. Through these 4 things there will be the termination of this session of the day happens. So if you see this adjournment, it suspends the work of the sittings for a specific period, which may be hours, day or week. So here the presiding officer of that house say we are adjourning today, and he or she can say that we are going to meet so and so day at this time. So whenever the time and the date which is set by that presiding officer, when they are again going to meet, it is called as simple adjournment or adjournment. So what is this adjournment sign die? It means terminating the sitting of the parliament for an indefinite period. That means whenever the adjournment which is set by the presiding officers of that house, they are not going to say exactly at which time, on which date they are going to meet again. So it is called as an indefinite period, and whenever the adjournment without saying this exact date or time, then it is called as the adjournment sign die. The power of adjournment as well as the adjournment sign die which is lies with the presiding officer of the house. That means in the case of Lok Sabha it is speaker, in the case of Rajya Sabha it is a chairman. Okay, so this is about adjournment sign die. Let us see the next one, that is prorogation. Here the presiding officer, that is either speaker or the chairman in the case of the Rajya Sabha and in the case of Lok Sabha, they declares the house adjourned sign die when the business of the house is completed. When the business of the house that is completed regarding that session, then the presiding officer, either the speaker or the chairman, then they will go for the adjournment sign die. So within the next few days, again the president issues the notification for the prorogation of the session. Okay, so here also the president will prorogue the session. First of all, what happened, there will be the first sitting, that is summoning, and the session will be happening, and at the last day here the speaker or the chairman will go for the adjournment sign die, and after next few days here the president will come up with the notification of the prorogue. So here if you see the summoning and the proroguing, they are the important functions of the President of India. And let us see the next one, that is dissolution. So we have the 2 houses, we have the lower house and we have the upper house, correct? So lower house is the Lok Sabha and upper house is the Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha, it is a permanent house and it does not subject to the dissolution. But if you see this Lok Sabha or the lower house, it is subjected to the dissolution. So if you see, what is the difference between the prorogation and the dissolution? So there is a difference between the prorogation and the dissolution. So if you see in the prorogation, dissolution ends very life of the existing house. So if you see in the prorogation, what happened, then the house will go into the recess. But whenever there is a dissolution is happening, ends the life of the house itself. Okay, so whenever the dissolution is happening, it will end the very life of the Lok Sabha. But if you see the prorogation, just it will go for the vacation or the holiday or the recess. But this dissolution, it will end the entire or very life of the existing Lok Sabha or the existing house. and after the dissolution in that house, that is in the Lok Sabha, they will go for the fresh elections. Whenever the prorogation is happening, that house will not go for the fresh elections, but whenever the dissolution is happening, then that house will go for the fresh elections. So this is the difference between the prorogation and the dissolution. You should be clear regarding the what is the prorogue and what is the dissolution. Okay. And if you see the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, that may takes place in the two important ways. The first one is through the automatic way, that is automatic dissolution, and the second way is whenever the president decides to dissolve the house. But this president do not have any discretion, but on the advice, on the aid and advice of the Prime Minister headed by the Council of Ministers. Okay. So let us see about the automatic dissolution. That is, whenever there is expiry of the tenure, that is the 5 years, then there will be the automatic dissolution of the house. And whenever the president decides to dissolve the house, which means here once Lok Sabha is dissolved before the completion of its normal tenure and the dissolution which is irrevocable, so they will have to go to the fresh elections. So when this Lok Sabha is dissolved or its committees lapses, all the business like bills, motions, resolutions, notices, petitions, so on which are pending before the Lok Sabha, that will lapse. Okay. Why? If you see there is a session is happening in the Lok Sabha, but there is suddenly president decided to dissolve that Lok Sabha. For example, in that Lok Sabha there are many other bills or the business of that house is pending if there is any possibility. Correct? So in that case, what happened? The business which includes the bills, which includes the motions, resolutions, notices, petitions, pending, they are pending before the house. They must be again reintroduced into the newly constituted Lok Sabha. Okay. However, some of the pending bills and also the pending assurances that ought to be examined by the Committee of the Government Assurances, that do not lapse. Okay, on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. So let us see the position of the respecting of the lapsing of the bill. So this part is very important regarding the prelims. So please focus here. So whenever any bill which is pending in the Lok Sabha, whenever there is a dissolution of the Lok Sabha is happened, regardless where it is originated, that means if at all that bill which is originated in the Lok Sabha and it is pending in the Lok Sabha, for example that bill which is originated in the Rajya Sabha but it is pending in the Lok Sabha, so whether it is pending in the Lok Sabha and the Lok Sabha it is dissolved, then the bill which is pending in the Lok Sabha will be lapsed. And if at all the bill which is passed by the Lok Sabha but it is again pending in the Rajya Sabha, then this bill also lapses. And the bill not passed by the two houses due to some disagreement, that means it is talking about joint sitting. So if you see, according to the Article 108, there is a provision of joint sitting. So it is present only for the ordinary bills but not for the money bills and also the constitutional amendment bills, only for the ordinary bills. So whenever the first house passes that bill and second house rejects that, the first house passes and second house sent for the reconsideration and that is not accepted by the house one, then in this case there will be the deadlock that is happening. Mainly to resolve that deadlock, there will be the provision of the joint sitting. So whenever there is a provision of the joint sitting which is notified, already notified by the president, then that bill will not lapse. This is very important. And the bill which is pending in the Rajya Sabha but it is not passed in the Lok Sabha, then it does not lapses. And the bill which is passed by both the houses but pending at the assent of the president, then it will also does not lapse. And the next one is, if at all bill passed by both the houses but it is written by the president mainly for the reconsideration to the houses, then it will also does not lapse. Okay, this is important regarding the prelims. So let us see the quorum. So if you see in our constitution, Article 100 talks about the quorum. So what is the quorum? If you see the houses, we have the Lok Sabha and we also have the Rajya Sabha, correct? So in Lok Sabha we have the 545 members, in Rajya Sabha we have the 250 members. Correct? So how many members should present mainly for the conducting of the session? So this is the simply quorum. Quorum, it is a minimum number of the members required to present in the house before it can transact any business. So it is a minimum number of the attendance of the members of parliament to start any business. So normally it is 1/10 of the total member of house, including the presiding officer. This word is very important, that is including the presiding officer. So it means if you see in the Lok Sabha it is about 55 members and in the Rajya Sabha normally 25 members. And if there is no quorum during the meeting of the house, then it is a duty of the presiding officer either to adjourn the house or to suspend the meeting until there is a quorum. So again the authority which is present with the presiding officers of the house, that is the speaker in the case of Lok Sabha and the chairman in the case of Rajya Sabha. Okay, so this is about quorum. So let us see the voting. What is the meaning of voting? Whenever any motion is passed or whenever any bill is introduced, there will be debate, discussion and the voting. So voting means whenever the yes or more than the no, then it will be passed. Okay. So all the matters at any sitting of either house or in the joint sitting of the both the houses are to be decided by the majority of the votes of the members who are present and voting. That is excluding the presiding officer. Why? Whenever there is any tie is happening, mainly to resolve that tie, casting vote which will be given by the presiding officer, either the speaker or either the chairman. So if the speaker and the chairman are not present, then the deputy speaker and the deputy chairman. So they will have the casting vote. They will not vote in the first instance. So this is about the voting of the house. But if you see in this voting of the house, they have the separate types of the majorities. For example, there is a special majority that is required for the impeachment of the president and also the amendment of the constitution. When you are talking about the removal of the speaker and the chairman of the houses, they require the effective majority. And for some other provisions, they require the simple or the ordinary majority. Okay. So this is about the voting in the house. So let us see the devices of the parliamentary proceedings. So in these devices, we are going to discuss question hour, zero hour and other motions. So this part is very important regarding the prelims. So let us see the question hour. So as we know, in the morning session will start from 11 o'clock. So 11 to 12 o'clock, 1 hour time, the first part of the session, the first hour of the session, that starts with this question hour. So the first hour of every parliamentary sitting, it is slotted for this, and during this time the members can ask the questions and the minister usually give the answers to these questions. And there are mainly three types of the questions. They are starred questions, unstarred questions and the short notice questions. So what is the difference between these three? These three differences is also important regarding the prelims. First one is starred. These are mainly distinguished by the asterisk mark. So this is the mark that is present on that question. So whenever this mark which is present, it is called as a starred question, and to this question minister can give answer orally, and whenever answer which is given in the orally, then there can be also the supplement questions that can follow. And unstarred question means there will be no asterisk mark is present, and for these types of the question usually minister will come up with the answer in a written format. So whenever answer which is given in the written format, there will be no supplementary questions. And next one is short notice questions. So it is the one that is asked by giving the notice of less than 10 days and it should be answered orally, and also supplementary questions can also follow. This is about the important thing. And the list of the stated, unstarred, short notice questions and the questions to the private members, they are printed in the different colors like green color, white color, light pink and yellow color, mainly to distinguish from one another. So let us see the next part, that is zero hour. So unlike the question hour, zero hour which is not mentioned in the rules of the procedure. So it is an informal device which is mainly available to the members of the parliament, mainly to raise the matters, okay, without any prior notice. So why it is called as zero hour? Because at 11 o'clock session will start. For 1 hour there will be the question hour, correct? So this session will start at 0:00 time. So it is called as a zero hour. So this is the logic behind why the name that is zero hour. And if you see this zero hour, which starts immediately after the question hour and lasts until the agenda of the day which is taken up, or the regular business of the house which is declared by the presiding officer. So exactly what we can say about this zero hour? It is a gap which is present between the question hour and the agenda of the day. It is known as a zero hour. And it is of Indian innovation, mainly in the field of the parliamentary procedures, and it has been in existence since 1962 onwards. So let us see the third important one, that is motion. So what is a motion? In simple way, there are the members of parliament or the MPs in the parliament. Whenever they want to express their feelings or emotions, they will go with these motions. Okay. So if you see here, without these motions, no discussions on a matter of general public importance that can take place, except this motion which is passed. Okay. Mainly these motions will be passed with the consent of the presiding officer of the house, that is speaker in the case of Lok Sabha and the chairman in the case of Rajya Sabha. And the house express its decisions or opinions on the various issues through the adoption or the rejection of the motions which are moved either the ministers or even by the private members. Private members means the members of the house, but they are not ministers. Okay, so this is the difference between the minister and the private members. And if you see some of the important motions here, the motions moved by the members mainly to raise the discussions of the other important matters that falls into mainly three categories. The first one is substantive motion, second one is substitute motion, third one is subsidiary motion. The substantive motion means it is of independent proposal. Whenever we want to pass any independent proposal which is regarding to the very important matter, for example impeachment of the president or removal of any chief election commissioner, etc., and this will comes under the substantive motion. And when you are talking about the substitute motion, mainly it is moved to substitute the original motion. Okay, mainly to substitute the original motion with the another, we will pass this substitute motion. And the next one is subsidiary motion. That means by itself it does not have any meaning, but it cannot state the decision of the house without reference to the original motion or the proceeding of the house. So if you see, it cannot state the decision of the house without any reference to the original motion. So it take with the reference of the original motion or the proceeding of the house. It is called as subsidiary motion. So these are the three important principal categories of the motions. So let us see one by one. And if you see, this subsidiary motion, they are again divided into three types. The first one is ancillary motion. Ancillary motion which is mainly used as a regular way of proceeding with the various kinds of the business. So it is a normal regular way of proceedings. And superseding motion means it is moved the course of the debate on another issue that will supersede the issue. That means if at all any debate which is happening on the issue 1, so we want to move to the issue 2, then they will passing of this superseding motion. And amendment means if there is any need to modify or any substitute to the original motion, then there will be the amendment. So these three comes under this subsidiary motion. So let us see the closure motion. So I think many of you know about this closure motion. So it is a motion which is moved by the member mainly to cut short the debate of any matter before the house. So whenever they want to cut short the debate regarding any matter, they will move this closure motion. So if this motion which is approved by the house, then the debate on that topic will be stopped and it will be put forth to the voting. So we know whenever anything which is introduced in the house, there will be debate, discussion and the voting. So discussion will be stopped okay, by this closure motion, and they will go for the voting. So if you see this closure motion, there are again 4 types of the closure motion. First one is simple closure, second one is closure by compartments, kangaroo clause, and the guillotine closure. So these 4 are very important regarding the prelims. So simple closure means when a member who moves the matter that having been sufficiently discussed and now put to the vote. That means we already discussed enough regarding this so and so, so we can go for the vote. That is called as a simple closure. And the next one is closure by compartments. That means the class of the bill or the lengthy resolution are grouped into number of parts, and this part one, let us take one bill is there, and in this bill there are about 10 compartments. They divide into 10 compartments and they will discuss only one compartment, and they say that this one compartment is equal to whole of the bill, then they will go for the voting. This is called as the closure by compartments. And next one is kangaroo closure. Whenever we are going for this kangaroo closure, we are discussing only the important clauses of that, and we are debating on that, and later on we are going to the voting. So this is the kangaroo closure. And the next one is guillotine closure. This guillotine closure means it is the one of the undisclosed clause of the bill or the resolution. We are going directly into the voting. We are not going to discuss any provision of that. We are just going and putting to the voting for that bill or for that thing. Then it is called as a guillotine closure. So these are the 4. The first one is simple, means everything is discussed, and the closure by compartment is only one part is discussed, and the kangaroo means only the important classes, and the guillotine means no discussion, no debate, nothing, just directly voting. Okay, this is the guillotine closure. And next one is privilege motion. This privilege motion means whenever there is any breach to the privilege, either the collective privilege or the individual privilege, then the member of that house can pass this privilege motion. Okay, so this is the privilege motion, and we are going to discuss about this privilege in a separate video. Don't worry about that. And next one is calling attention motion. Mainly it is introduced in the parliament by a member mainly to call the attention of the ministers whenever there is a matter of the public urgent importance. For example, there is any terrorist attack happened, or any Nirbhaya case happened, or anything like floods or the something had happened, then there will be the passing of this motion, that is calling attention motion. And if you see like the zero hour, it is also an Indian innovation, but it is present in the rules of the procedure. So this is the difference between the zero hour and the calling attention motion. This zero hour is not present even in the rules of procedure, but it is present in the conventions, correct? So this calling attention motion, which is present in the rules of the procedure, and it is also an Indian innovation. And next one is adjournment motion. It is introduced in the parliament mainly to draw the attention of the house to definite regarding the matters of urgent public importance, but this motion need to be supported by the 50 members. Okay, because it is interrupting the normal business of the house. It is regarded as an extraordinary device. Okay, this is about the adjournment motion. And some of the important points here is right to move a motion for an adjournment of the business of the house. It is subject to some important restrictions. So those restrictions are, it should raise the matter which is definite, factual, urgent, and also public importance. So whenever any matter which is the definite, factual, urgent, then only we can go for this adjournment motion. And it should not cover more than one matter, correct? And it should be restricted to specific matter of recent occurrence, and it should not be framed in the general terms. And it should not raise the question of privileges, because we already have the privilege motion. So whenever there is a privilege is happening, they can move the privilege motions, but not this adjournment motion. And they should not revive the discussion on the matter that has been discussed in the same session. So it should not be related to the discussion that is happening in that session. And it should not deal with any matter that is under adjudication by the court. This is very important thing. And it should not raise any question that can be raised on the distinct motion. So these are the some limitations. So let us see the no confidence motion. So if you see the important article, that is Article 75 of Indian Constitution, that says Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. It means whenever the no confidence motion it is passed against this whole Council of Ministers but not to the individual minister. And this no confidence motion can be passed only in the Lok Sabha but not in the Rajya Sabha. Whenever this no confidence motion which is passed in the Lok Sabha, then the government should resign. Okay. So this is about some of the important things regarding this no confidence motion. And the next one is confidence motion. Here this motion of confidence has come up a new procedural device mainly to cope with the emergency situations of fractured mandates resulting in the hung parliament or the minority governments or the coalition government. That means if at all there is a doubt that this ruling party do not have the majority in the house, they can go for the confidence motion. In the confidence motion, they are getting the sufficient majority, then that government will survive. Okay, this is about confidence motion. And next one is motion of thanks. So in every first session of every financial year which is addressed by the president, and in this motion, first session, President will outline what are the policies, what are the programs of the government of the preceding year, and what are the programs which are present in the ensuing year, that will be discussed. And in this session, there will, at the end of this session, the motion it is put into the vote. This motion is called as motion of the thanks. And this motion of the thanks should be passed. Otherwise, we can say there is a defeat of the government. So whenever this motion of thanks which is failed, it is no need that the government should resign here. Okay, but it amounts to the defeat of the government. And the next one is no day at named motion. So it is a motion that is admitted by the speaker mainly, but no date has been fixed for this discussion. So the speaker, after considering the state of business in the house and in the consultation with the leader of the house or in the recommendation of the business advisory committee, which allocates a day or the days on the part of a day for the discussion of such motion. That means if at all this motion which is admitted by the speaker, so there will be no date will be fixed by for the discussion, but they can allocate a day or the many days or even a part of the day for the discussion of that important topic. So this is about no day at named motion. So by this we are concluding today. We discussed many important topics in this lecture. We discussed leaders of parliament, sessions of parliament, and also the devices of the parliament. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel. Please do like, share and comment my videos. Thank you.